The cameras were already rolling when the moment everyone would be talking about for weeks began to unfold. It was supposed to be a standard morning interview, light, friendly, promotional. Jennifer Lawrence, an Oscar-winning actress known for her candor and charisma, had come on Good Morning America to promote her latest film, Fractured Mirror, a dark thriller exploring government corruption and personal redemption. She arrived early, calm and smiling, dressed in a sharp navy blazer that complemented her professional air. Everyone backstage was laughing along with her usual blend of clumsy charm and sharp humor, joking about her infamous red carpet stumbles. Everything seemed on track until George Stephanopoulos entered the studio. From the first moment he walked in, the energy shifted. George offered his usual courteous handshake and a polished smile, but there was a flicker of something sharper. In his eyes, a journalist's hunger, perhaps, or something more calculating. "Jennifer, always a pleasure," he greeted. "Thanks for having me," she replied coolly, unaware of the storm brewing behind that desk. "I have to say, your crew still makes the best coffee on morning TV." George grinned, settling into his chair. "Well, you might need something stronger by the time we're done." That was the first clue. They exchanged pleasantries and eased into discussing the film. George introduced her with his signature calm tone, but there was a tightness beneath it, a tension that only someone like Jennifer, so experienced with media, would recognize. He asked about the film's themes: justice, betrayal, the weight of truth. Jennifer answered smoothly, noting how the story resonated with her because of its focus on standing firm in the face of institutional pressure. But just as she began to find her rhythm, George turned the tide. His next question veered off the film entirely. "Some viewers might be wondering," he said, glancing at his notes, "how you reconcile a film about government corruption with the recent headlines about your production company's tax situation. Care to comment on the audit?" The air froze. Jennifer stiffened, blinking in disbelief. "Excuse me, I thought we were here to talk about the film." George didn't flinch. "I just think there's an irony worth exploring given your advocacy on economic fairness. Some might say your company's tax strategies raise questions." Jennifer's smile vanished. "George, I came here to discuss my work, not be blindsided with accusations disguised as journalism." But George pressed on. "These are public records. Your company received major tax breaks in multiple states. Don't you think the public deserves transparency from someone who speaks so passionately about fairness?" Jennifer's temper began to spark. "Transparency. I've been audited, and nothing came of it because I've followed every law to the letter. And I find it disturbing that you're framing legal practices as if they're inherently suspicious." She leaned forward, voice tight. "I run a business that employs hundreds. I've donated millions to causes I care about. You want to twist that into some gotcha narrative?" George remained unshaken, feeding off the tension. "You've been outspoken about the wealthy avoiding taxes. Isn't it fair to ask how your actions align with those values?" Jennifer's laugh was cold now. "You're twisting facts and pretending it's accountability. This isn't journalism, George, this is theater. Bad theater." "Still," he continued, "isn't there a contradiction in championing working-class causes while benefiting from the same tax structures as billionaires?" Jennifer was furious now, her voice steady but blazing. "I pay more in taxes than most people earn in a lifetime. I fund scholarships, I've created jobs in underserved communities. That doesn't make me a hypocrite. It makes me someone who's successful and responsible. And if that's hard for you to reconcile, maybe you need to look at your own biases." George tried to play it off. "I think our audience is smart enough to see the facts and draw their own conclusions." Jennifer shot back immediately. "No, you're telling them what conclusions to draw by framing the conversation this way. You're manipulating perception." The studio was silent except for the low hum of the broadcast monitors. Behind the cameras, the crew looked increasingly uneasy. Jennifer wasn't done. She stood, voice rising with emotion but never losing control. "You want to talk about integrity? Ask me about the grueling 18-hour days on set. Ask me about the trauma research I did for this role. Ask me about my colleagues who gave everything to make this film. But instead, you're more interested in turning this into a courtroom drama over my accountant's filings." George tried to regain ground. "I've held political leaders accountable. Why should celebrities be exempt?" "Because I'm not running for office," Jennifer snapped. "I'm an artist. I came here in good faith, and you've used that trust to create controversy where there is none." And then came the moment that silenced the room. Jennifer turned to George, slowly, her voice almost a whisper. "George, do you honestly think I should pay more taxes than the law requires, just to prove a point? Do you think I should not hire experts to manage my finances, so I can, what, be broke and virtuous?" George replied, "I think consistency is important." Jennifer responded sharply. "Consistency doesn't mean self-sabotage. It means doing what's right while navigating a broken system. I advocate for change, but I don't have to martyr myself to prove I believe in that change." George tried again. "Don't you think that by using these strategies, you become part of the very system you criticize?" Jennifer narrowed her eyes. You mean the system I work within because I'm trying to survive it while pushing for reform. The system that punishes women for speaking up and for succeeding. The system that you're now weaponizing to humiliate me on live television. George looked shaken for the first time, but Jennifer pressed forward. You don't care about facts. You care about the appearance of scandal. You're using pieces of truth to fabricate controversy. That's not journalism. That's exploitation. She began unclipping her mic. And the real tragedy is that you used to stand for something, but now you're just another face, chasing viral outrage. George's voice cracked slightly as he said, Jennifer, if you walk out, people will say you're running from the truth. She turned one last time. No, George. I'm walking away from a lie, from a setup that pretended to be about art, but was always about spectacle. She faced the camera directly, her voice calm now. To everyone watching, my new film Fractured Mirror opens this weekend. It's about standing up against corruption and abuse of power. About how institutions fail people. Ironically, this interview has made that message even more personal. Thank you. And with that, Jennifer Lawrence walked off the set. George sat frozen, stunned, his practiced composure shattered. The cameras lingered a few seconds longer on his face, red, exposed, alone under the studio lights before the control room finally cut to commercial. That single morning segment had only lasted 28 minutes. But by lunchtime, it would dominate headlines not because of the movie, but because one woman refused to be reduced to clickbait and stood up, live, against a system that tried to twist her success into scandal.